Hello, Global Theater. My name is Gerry Fialka. Today's Feb 17, 2026. Want to thank Rob Grant, his amazing podcast, I'm Probably Wrong About Everything. Also want to thank Pacifica Radio and Ty Berry for introducing me to today's guest, Medea Benjamin. It's an honor and a pleasure. Where are you calling from, Medea?
Washington, D.C., Jerry.
How cool is that? The first question is, what is the best thing for a human being?
To be alive.
I love that. That's like Louis Buñuel said, long live the living. I'm glad you're laughing. That's what we're here to have fun. So, what is your favorite form of information, how it comes into you?
I am on so many chats and listservs, and it's hard for me to even go outside of all that because I get so much great information just coming at me. I'm on one chat that I must get about 10 great articles every single day from all kinds of sources. So, really, from the community.
That is good. But it implies it's reading. Did you become a reader, one, because your parents told you, two, they did it as an example, or three, on your own?
I think would say more from school and elementary school, high school. I really loved reading, and I'm sorry that these days I don't read a lot of books. I miss that because I used to love it, but now I'm just so overwhelmed with reading articles, and of course there's social media, and I must say I'm one of the ones that's attached to my phone, which is not a great thing, but it is what it is. So I don't do enough book reading these days, but it's always on my list.
Why do you think humans collect or gather information?
I think or in my own case, I like to feel part of some larger world, whether it's what's happening in my city, what's happening in my country, and I have a particular love for what's happening in other countries. When I look on the list of movies to watch, I always love to go to international ones. I like when I'm watching a movie that I'm learning something about some other place. I like to hear other languages. I think, recognizing that the world is big and beautiful, that we are only one part of that. So many people in the United States have that USA, USA, we are number one. And I think, gosh, there's how many countries in the world, Jerry? Like 192, maybe?
Wow.
And how can you say you're number one if you haven't looked at the 191 other ones? So gathering information to me is just feeling part of something more complete.
It's really good. You're concise and articulate. I really appreciate it. I learned a lot, and you painted a good picture there. Medea, is this need or want to collect information more innate or more invented?
I think it's learned. I mean, certainly human beings are curious from the time we're born. But this idea that, for example, in my particular case, that I want to learn about other places, other peoples, I think it's from exposure. Once you learn about one other culture, you want to learn about another one, and then another one, and it kind of snowballs. So I would say it's something learned.
Do thoughts create emotions?
I don't know. Well, yeah, certainly when I think about um, something that's happening, usually it conjures up images, and those images create emotions.
Yeah, I like that you would felt like you could say I don't know, because I want people to realize saying I don't know or I can't answer that is totally valid. I'm not trying to put people on the spot. In fact, I always say you don't have to answer the question. They're just prompts to get us to talk, because I'm for tangents, stories, and anecdotes. So I appreciate you sussing that out. Fill in the blank. I don't know what I think until I
have articulated it either in writing or in speaking or in collecting my thoughts in my head.
Yeah, well, that's really, you covered the waterfront there, because Joan Didion says, I don't know what I think until I write it. McLuhan says, I don't know what I think until I say it. But I like you adding that other verb, collecting and articulating. Beautiful. Now, Chomsky says language is not just words. It's a culture, a tradition, a unification of community, a whole history that creates what a community is. What do you do when language breaks down? When language doesn't work, what do you do?
Try another one.
I like
Uh,
that.
yeah, when language breaks down, I guess, um, I was just asking people to give me one word to describe something. And I liked it when people said there is no one word to describe it
Yeah.
because it's so big that words or short words are not enough. This was a case of talking about how the blockade is affecting people in Cuba. And one person would say, it's a crime, it's a genocide, it's this, it's that. And this was in Cuba. And one woman, she just broke down crying and she said, it's so big, I could not describe it in a word. So when words are not enough, I guess emotions take over, and then we try to re-articulate.
Beautiful, because you anticipated the next question. Your observations of humans in general, are we more feeling beings or more thinking beings?
I think we're more feeling beings. Uh, we, um, there's this old uh, idea that women are more feeling and men are more thinking, but I don't think that's really true. I think we're all feeling beings.
Yeah. Bridget Bardot says, when I make love, I don't think. And I'm like, good luck. How do you turn your brain off? Or people who meditate go, now think about not thinking. And there's,
I can't do that, Jerry. I'm so
no,
bad at meditating.
yeah, but there's a bumper sticker on my car in my street, and it says, don't believe everything you think. And I'm like, well, you could say, don't believe everything you feel.
Yeah, or everything you say.
Yeah. These two are from Alan Turing in the 50s. One is thinking a function of the soul.
You're getting deep for me, Jerry. Is thinking a function of the soul? That's when I really got to say, I don't know.
That's totally fine. And again, it's more, I'm after your hunch or your guess. So that's totally fine. The second Turing question is, can machines think?
Well, boy, it sure seems like it these days with AI. It is quite amazing what you can give it in terms of the parameters, and then what comes out sure seems like they think.
Yeah. Do you more pursue happiness or more pursue meaning?
I pursue meaning because I think meaning makes me happy. I don't like just doing things like that people would normally think make you happy, whether it's um, spending the day at the beach or eating a nice meal or going on a vacation or going to a spa or something like that. I would much rather do something that is going to a community center and helping people, organizing something. So definitely meaning.
Yeah, I got it from Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. He says, meaning tends to last and happiness doesn't necessarily last.
And meaning can make you happy.
Exactly. Does the brain more detect consciousness or create it? Like, is consciousness there bubbling away and we're more so detecting it or more so creating it?
I think we're creating it. I think we
Yeah.
have to give a lot of prompts and then it gets created. And I don't think it's just there.
Yeah. What's faster, speed of light or speed of thought?
I guess it depends whose thinking it is.
The poet Audre Lorde said, "You can't dismantle the master's house using the master's tools." Her colleague Yvonne Rainer said, "Oh, you can if you expose the tools." What new tool do you suggest? And it doesn't have to be tangible.
For dismantling the master's house?
Well, that's you. You're answering a question with a question, so you win.
Uh,
That's what this series is all about, new questions. But I'll suss it out. It's more like this. I open some of these questions with cue quotes. It doesn't mean you have to apply them. I'm basically asking, what tool do you most gravitate towards? If you want to apply it to dismantling the master's house, that's great. And if you want to use the word new, that's great. But you don't have to.
I don't know that there are really new tools to use. There might be new ways of using old tools and new ways of organizing. For example, when you look throughout history or at mass movements and how they have changed history, some of them have been violent, some of them have been nonviolent, some of them have been organizing through word of mouth. These days we have social media, so there's new ways of doing things. But in the end, I don't know that those are new tools, just different ways of using them.
But what is the tool you most gravitate towards?
Towards mass mobilization, organizing, building a community of people who want to get the same kind of change that you want.
Yeah. That is beautiful. And since I asked this tool question, someone finally said, "Well, what about a toy?" So now I ask, what's a toy you gravitate towards?
Hula hoop I like a lot because it's exercise, it's motion, it's circular, um, it's fun, it's rhythmic,
Really well
and
put.
it's very simple.
And it's simple and you don't need much. Okay, that is great. What do you worry about when you go to bed at night?
I worry if I'm going to sleep well through the night and not get up in the middle of the night. I worry, will I fall asleep? I worry, will I remember all the things I have to do the next day? Um, those are some of the things.
Yeah, McLuhan learned from Ezra Pound, the poet, that artists are the antenna of the race. They're broadcasting and detecting the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, so we might learn how to cope with what we don't like about our inventions. So, Medea, I asked you the question Marshall probed his whole career. Why do we ignore the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, even though the artists are broadcasting them to us? And you know what I mean by artists is activists, painters, poets, musicians.
Well, who said we ignore them?
Well, I'm saying that that some people don't dig a little deeper on what artists are saying, because sometimes it's a little more metaphoric. So even Bob Dylan says, "I'm just an antenna, and I'm just a radio, and this stuff's just coming through me." So it's not a all-inclusive statement that everybody ignores it, but there are some people who ignore what artists are really saying, the like deeper message. Why do you think some people ignore the deeper message?
Well, first, I think a lot of people don't hear the message at all. There's
Right.
so much coming at us, and people are so consumed with their day-to-day activities that
Yeah.
a lot of people don't even get into that sphere. Uh,
Yeah.
if they do get into the sphere, it might be because they only want to get into it on a superficial level because they have so many other things on their mind.
Yeah.
Um, and it might be that it's a a level that doesn't really jive with your um, way of going deep. Like it might be that you're an old fuddy-duddy and you think that rap music isn't going to teach you
Yeah,
anything, or you're not going to understand it, or you're not going to know what they're trying to mean. And so you don't let yourself
yeah.
kind of get into that. So there's a lot of obstacles to get through before you can get to that level of depth.
I love that word fuddy duddy. Yeah, yeah, I think everybody has a little fuddy duddy in them, but it is
It
being,
sounds it sounds like a Joe Biden word.
yeah, but it does is like, I think promoting open-mindedness is an important thing. That it is, you know.
Absolutely.
I mean, McLuhan had a great line, carefully make plans, then do the opposite. You know, keep your reality tunnels on and then go, wow, can I see? And what you started off saying reminded me of Cindy Sheehan, one of my heroes, you know her well, protesting on Bush's front lawn. She says, we're only preaching to the choir and there ain't even a choir. But you know there is a choir and you've helped gather that choir. So do artists have moral obligation?
I think they should. I mean, they don't have to. You can be an artist and just go about your art on a superficial level. But I think that if you want to be a really good artist, you should be connected to something that has some kind of deeper meaning. And that deeper meaning should have a social context to it. So I would say it's preferable, but not absolutely necessary.
Really well put. Are you more afraid of new ideas or more afraid of old ideas?
I'm not afraid of either. I don't like getting stuck in old ideas and thinking that new ideas are not going to work because they actually are old ideas and they didn't work when they were old ideas. Uh, I try to not get stuck in that, and to be open to new ideas, but also recognizing that we're always building on something.
Yeah, beautiful. Can you conjure up your earliest memory ever or one of them?
One that I remember is being on the floor of a store having a fit because my sister got a dress that I wanted. It's not a very nice memory. I'm not very proud of having that as one of my early memories, but yeah, that's one I do think about, the jealousy between
Yeah,
siblings and how
yeah,
it just kind of emerges.
yeah. Is memory more a curse or more a blessing?
Well, it depends what you're remembering, what the memory is. If the
Yeah,
memory is of something horrible, then it's a curse not to be able to get that out of your head, and move on from it. If your
yeah.
memory is good thoughts, of course, that's a lovely thing to be able to have in your head.
Tell me someone within your immediate family who had an impact on you, and what specifically was that impact?
I look at my younger daughter and see how she is bringing up her kids, and it's in such a beautiful way of relating to them as if they were not kids,
Wow.
that I think, wow, I didn't do that, and I wish I had been more like that.
Wow. Well, where do you think she got that from?
She's a young woman who is always very wise, even as a child. And I think it's probably a combination of reading books on how you should parent because they do that a lot. But I think it's really from uh, seeing the results of it, that if
Yeah.
you talk to kids as adults, you get a much better result than if you're talking to them as kids.
Oh, beautiful. Same question outside your immediate family, someone who had an impact on you, and what was that impact?
Well, you're very close physically to my co-founder of Code Pink, Jody Evans, from Venice, California, and or Santa Monica,
Yeah.
and she has had a tremendous impact on me of always being able to analyze political situations and come out with a very profound analysis that leads to action, that kind of moves you in that direction. It's not just being able to synthesize what's happening and have a good position on it. It's what's the next step? What do you do about it?
It's beautiful. I want to interview Jody so well. I've invited her, but someday I will. And maybe you can give her a little nudge because she truly is a great leader. And Code Pink is a true inspiration to so many of us. So we thank both of you for that organization, and it's still thriving. Did your parents raise you a particular religion?
They were Jewish and they raised me as kind of Jewish. I mean, we were Reformed Jews, so it was only on holiday kind of things, but they were very culturally Jewish, both in their, uh, my mother spoke Yiddish, they loved Jewish culture, they were very involved around Jewish affairs, and their friends were Jewish, and they loved Israel and all that kind of thing.
Do you pray?
No, I don't. I send good vibrations to people when they are sick and in need, and I try to find some spiritual way to send my best intentions, but it's not to a God.
If God does exist, what would you like God to say to you after you die?
Oh, that's a tough one, Gerry. I guess I would like her to say
Yes.
that I tried hard
Yeah.
to make things better for people, that I put a lot of effort in. Maybe God could give me some pointers at what I should have done better and could do better in the next life. Uh,
That is so good. When I tear up during these interviews, I know it's going well if or the person I'm interviewing. So that really made me, because I mean, I like to say that aren't we all here to make the world a better place? And in so much that what you do and pursue is just like so straight on that path that it really was great. Like, hey, could you give me a few tips? But it
for the
also
next,
reminds
for the next round.
but for the next one, because it also reminds me of Paul Krasner saying, I only believe in reincarnation in one of my past lives. So, do evil people exist, or does evil use people as a vehicle?
I think people evolve into being evil because of a number of different factors in their surroundings, in the way they were brought up, in their context, in their ambitions. But I don't think people are born evil.
Yeah, I get that so much, and I'm so happy when people say, no, we're not born evil. But really, the question, the hidden question there is, how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? And I'll set it up. Alan Watts says, if you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them. Coppola stole from the mob and the samurai. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. JFK said, forgive your enemy, but don't forget their name. And Fellini says, I need an enemy. So it's a lot of thoughts. The basic question is, how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? But first, how would you respond to Alan Watts? If you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them.
I don't believe that. I think that if you don't acknowledge them, you're being foolish,
Yeah,
that you should acknowledge. I mean, one is, I don't like the word enemy, just like
yeah,
I don't like the word hate.
yeah,
I prefer adversary.
yeah.
because it implies more that there's a possibility of change there.
Yes,
And I think we ought to leave that possibility open.
it's good. And so, like, one of your daughters is being bullied or a friend is being bullied. What advice do you give them?
Well, at this age, and their age, I don't give them advice.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying anyone. Yeah, not necessarily your daughters, but
Uh-huh.
just say someone is coming to you for advice.
Yeah.
There's an enemy and they're doing me wrong. What advice would you give them?
I'd sit down and have a long conversation about where it started, how it started, what are the ways to that they've already tried, so that I'm not telling them things they already know. Um, Maybe is it better to avoid this person, and is it possible to avoid them? Or is it better to try to confront this person directly? Or if that's not possible, might there be people in the circles who could intervene and be kind of a conflict resolver? So there's lots of ways to get around it or go straight into it, depending on who you're talking to, what the issue is, and how much they really want to go straight to the problem rather than try things around the edges.
Yeah. I studied conflict resolution because I had a falling out once. And I learned this one line. It says, it's you and them versus the problem. It's not you versus them. And I spoke with someone once. I said, why don't they teach conflict resolution in grade school and high school? And she goes, now they do. That
Hmm.
in our age, we weren't taught conflict resolution in school, and now they do. So I think that's important. But Nassim Taleb said games were created to give non-heroes the illusion of winning. In real life, we don't know who wins or loses, but we can tell who a hero is. My friend said villains uh, don't think they're bad. They want control. Heroes want freedom. And then Gregory Bateson says, when the criminal gets caught, does he go, whoa, my criminal skills weren't up to snuff that day? Or does he go, I did something morally and socially wrong? So again, it's a lot of prompts. You can go wherever you want, but kind of the basic question is, does punishment work?
Uh, the way that our penal system is designed, no, it doesn't work. Uh, Treating people in, putting them into cages and solitary confinement and all this kind of horrific things that we do, that doesn't work. I have seen other places, other countries where they use different methods that are much more humane. And I do think those things work when you get people to really be able to um, reflect on what they did and how it hurt other people. There is much more of a chance of redemption than just straight out punishment.
Yeah. Yeah. So James Joyce, thank you. James Joyce was the first projectionist in Dublin about 100 years ago. He basically checked out. He said, this is stupid. Why should I go inside a building and see a movie of a tree when I can go outside and see a real tree? Years later, William Faulkner said, sometimes the best fiction is more true than journalism. Why do we have to recreate things in order to get them? Why do we have to go to a theatrical play of people acting out life? Why don't we just live life?
We can do both, and hopefully we do both. I mean, we
Yeah.
live our lives every day, but there's different things that we learn and see and feel when we are presented with a play, a movie, or some kind of dramatical presentation, not of your life, of somebody else's life. And I go back to what I said earlier, how much I love to learn about other peoples and other cultures. and you just can't be in 102 different countries at the same time and all those different cities. So to be able to see manifestations of these different cultures on the screen or in a play is a real treat for us and allows our mind to take a journey that you wouldn't be able to take without it.
Yeah, it's really good. Medea, walk me through your tipping points for your basically your two callings are sort of like activist, organizer, and author. You've written several books. Where's this tipping point where you go, activism is my calling, writing books is my calling?
I love to write books and articles because I get a chance to really go into depth about some subject and learn a lot about it. But as I'm learning about it, I'm always thinking, okay, what can I do about this? Is there
Yeah,
anything I can do about this? So if I write a book about Saudi Arabia, I want to get involved in what are the US implications of the massive amount of weapons that we send to Saudi Arabia. Or if I'm writing a book about everything we need to know about NATO, which is the title of my most recent book, I want to and am part of a no to NATO global network based more in Europe than elsewhere, that's trying to dissolve uh, this very aggressive military alliance. So I see the two as blending in. I really don't write anything without thinking about how could I get involved in either making it better or changing it or whatever.
yeah. But I'm sort of eager to know, are you studying writing in high school and college? And are you being a political activist in high school and college? Was there a tipping point for being an activist, an event or a person or something that said, this is my calling?
Well, on the activist part of things, it was in high school during the Vietnam War when I was vaguely hearing things about war, but I didn't know much about it till my sister's boyfriend was drafted. And after a couple of months, sent her a package that she was so eager to open up. And it was the ear of a Viet Cong.
Ay, ay, ay.
Yeah, sorry.
And,
So-
and so
Sorry
there
about
was,
that.
yeah, no worries. But was it just a little more? He was doing, I mean, what was his reasoning? Or,
Oh, to say that it was a souvenir that she should wear it around her neck.
oh my God. So that was like,
That was my aha moment, Jerry, of saying, oh, something is really wrong here when a nice guy has turned into some kind of monster. And it made me first vomit and second say, I'm going to learn more about what this war is about. And I'm going to find out who is doing something about it and join them. And that's what I did.
wow. So that's through high school and college, you're a political activist. Where did you say, were you studying writing at all? Were you a creative
No,
writer, a
no.
journalist or any?
I actually always wanted to be a journalist, but I never studied it. And I really didn't start writing until after traveling around the world in different places and being part of some very historic moments. And then people saying to me, oh, you must write about that. So
Right.
it was
What's
maybe
your
in my 20s.
what year is your first book about? What year did you put your first book out about?
Jody and I edited a book and wrote part of it after we. Oh, no, no, no. What am I talking about? My first book was in 1985, and it was called No Free Lunch Food and Revolution in Cuba Today. And it was about the attempts of the Cuban government over the years to become food self-sufficient and why it didn't work. And it was, I had been living in Cuba, so I had a lot of firsthand anecdotes about that, and that was very useful. And then I went on to write a wonderful, it was what do you call it when it's somebody else's biography, but you actually wrote it because you are interviewing them and
Yeah.
putting it together and massaging it all. So I did that with a Honduran woman, and it was called Don't Be Afraid, Gringo. And it turned into a very wonderful book that was picked up by Random House and was became kind of a underground book in the Peace Corps because it talked about the what U.S. policy was about in Central America during the 1980s, but did it through this woman's life. So it was a light read, but a profound message.
Really good. So, Medea, this is exactly that. You've had this career as an activist and, well, it's a calling, and a writer. A screenwriting teacher told me great art is when you can clearly see the intention of the maker. Stanley Kubrick says great art is when you can clearly not see the intention of the maker. What role does intention play when you're writing a book? Yeah, you know, your creative process writing a book, what role does intention play?
It's the main role because I don't write the book unless I have an intention, and the intention is to write the book so that people will read it and educate themselves and want to do something about the issue. So it's all about the intention.
And Duchamp said there's no art without an audience. How much are you thinking of your reader when you're writing your book?
I'm thinking about the reader in the sense that I better not go into too much depth because I'll lose them because people don't want to read a lot of pages.
Yeah.
So I have to limit myself in that sense, and I have to write in a way that is not academic and in a way that is makes it kind of more fun to read. So breaking up things a lot. A number of the books I've written that are about particular foreign policy issues, I do in a question and answer format because I think it keeps people's attention. I've been writing a memoir after people kept saying, you got to write a memoir, you got to write a memoir. And I have to be thinking a lot about, is this interesting to anybody other than maybe my family and friends? So I think about the audience all the time. I also realize that while a big seller for me is a book that might sell 20,000 copies, um, I do everyday social media. I do
Yeah.
a video every single day, and you can get several 100,000 people looking at your 2-minute video. So, which is definitely the social media is reaching more people. Does it have an impact? I don't know.
Well, I would say both. And the beauty is that you still write books and you haven't abandoned that. And you also learn a fuddy-duddy and say, I won't do social media. It's like, duh. If you're going to reach people, you might as well use that. So the other one is McLuhan says everything we invent extends some humanness or human sensorium, like the knife and fork extends our teeth. Shutter in a camera or projector extends our eyelid. And maybe even non-tangible, say religion or philosophy, extends consciousness. What does the writing utensil extend for you? Whether it's a pen or a keyboard, what humanness does it extend for you?
I'm always trying to get people to care about something,
Yeah.
to be more emotional, to feel connected, to feel um, maybe, some sense of obligation, but more than that, it's really about empathy. That used to be well, it still is one of my favorite words,
Yeah.
empathy. And a lot of people don't even understand what that word means and why it's so profound. But I think that empathy is exactly what I try to do in a lot of my writing to get people to feel a connection to the issue, to feel connection to other people, and to feel this sense of that is not sympathy. You know, sympathy and empathy are very different things. To feel empathy is to really feel a sense of oneness with the person, the issue, the cause.
I love that because I say humanness and you say oneness, and it connects so much. Empathy is such an important word. I saw a real successful video game maker give a lecture once, and he says, forget storytelling, it's all empathy. And that's a great word. So, what is the difference between rights and responsibilities?
Rights are things that are given to us that have been created over the years, and responsibilities are things that we take on as we go out into the world. Um, I think we take it for granted a lot of the rights that we have, and we only recognize how important they are when they start being taken away from us, like is happening right now under this administration. Responsibilities, people often don't recognize the responsibility they have towards something, whether it's the responsibility to take care of your immediate family, your responsibility to the community, the responsibility towards nature, the responsibility towards about how the US government treats people in other parts of the world. There are so many avenues or branches of responsibility, but we have to be open to recognizing them.
Again, thank you for being so concise and articulate. What is the difference between revolution and rebellion?
Rebellion is when you rise up against something without necessarily knowing what you want in its place, whereas revolution would be changing what exists and replacing it with something else that you have thought about and hopefully are able to implement. And certainly not everything goes the way that you had planned, but there's something in the revolution that is a radical change that has been pre-thought out. Rebellion can be very spontaneous.
Yeah. Utah Phillips said, anarchy is making rules for yourself and not other people. Who's entitled to make the rules? And let me just explain a little. I don't like the word entitled, but I don't know. I mean, you could help me. What do I say? Who should make the rules? Who's entitled to? Who makes the rules? There's so many avenues that the way that question could be worded goes. So I've kind of said all along who's entitled, but that word carries so much kind of negative baggage. I think you get a sense of like what I'm asking. And maybe you can suggest what's the verb I should say.
Maybe it should be who should be empowered to make the rules.
Yeah, who should be empowered? Good. Yeah.
And now I forget, is that the question?
Yeah, the question is who should be empowered to make the rules?
People who have to deal with the consequences of those
Yeah.
rules.
Yeah. The funny thing is the way Utah worded that, and the anarchist specialist said, that's not what anarchy is. But funny that the word freedom etymologically breaks down to what Utah said, giving oneself one's own laws. So what does freedom mean to you now?
Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. I once, when I was arrested, had to take a course on anger management.
They forced you to take a course.
And one of the question was, what does freedom mean to you?
Wow, maybe somebody can pass that on to me. I don't know where I got that question, but I love it. What is what does freedom mean to you? I added the word now. What does freedom mean to you now? Yeah.
Well, there's the personal freedom to live your life as you would like to live it.
Yeah.
There's the freedom of being part of a larger society of other people living their lives as they'd like to live it. And then there should be just like there are people who believe in the rights of nature, there should be the freedom of nature uh, to thrive and continue. And when those rights all collide with each other, is where we get into trouble. And who should make the rules? I think it should be the people who uh, have the best interest not only of themselves, but of the much larger society that includes the people and the nature and the whole shebang.
Yeah, I loved listening to Pacifica is so important to me. It's my lifeblood. And when Katrina hit, there was someone saying, "What happens in a disaster is how does the community and the country handle that disaster is a huge reflection." And boy, we did not handle Katrina well. And that was a reflection on us as Americans. Um, so John Basil Barnhill, socialist, said, "Where the people fear the government, you have tyranny. Where the government fears the people, you have liberty." In 2005, the film V for Vendetta paraphrased it. People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people. How do you personally handle false fears? And just to set it up, it's like, you can't have a war on drugs because drugs don't fight. And you can't say no to drugs because drugs don't talk. So these false fears, the war on drugs, the war on poverty, the war on terrorism, how do you personally handle them?
Well, I don't, I try to stop myself from fearing my government because that leads to powerlessness. And that's exactly the opposite of what we need to feel when our government is trying to make us afraid. I mean, to be more concrete right now, the Trump administration is investigating Code Pink from all kinds of angles. The Department of Justice, the Secretary of State, lawsuits against us, all manner of ridiculous accusations. And it's all designed to make us feel afraid. And if you're afraid, then you're not going to push and organize and try to bring your government to task for the terrible things it's doing. So I think it's important not to let yourself fall into that state of fear and to recognize that uh, I don't know if it's so much the government should be afraid of the people, but the government should listen to the people. And when we have people who are every opinion poll say we want a healthcare system that takes care of all of us and is paid for by the government, the government should listen to us. And when we say that we believe that young people that want to go to college because they want to help them better themselves and the rest of society, we shouldn't strap them into a lifetime of debt for that. I mean, simple things like that. It doesn't have to be that the government fears us, but the government listens to us.
It's beautiful. What's more important, conviction or compromise?
I think conviction, because if you have conviction, you have motivation, you have drive, you have inspiration, And then you can compromise if you feel that it's necessary and important. But without the conviction, there's not much to compromise about.
Louis Buñuel said, I'm for anyone who seeks the truth, but I part ways when they claim they found it. Now people love that, and and one person finally challenged me and says, that's not right, because if I want to seek something, it's because I want to find it. So I sort of morphed it into this question: if the journey is more important than the destination, why do we have to name or seek a destination?
I think the destination is the most important, and that the journey should lead you to the destination.
Marcel Proust asked the question, on what occasion do you lie? How would you respond?
Oh, well, just coming this weekend from babysitting a couple of tiny tots, um, I must admit that I have lied in terms of things like, um, how much television did we watch already? I said, you've already seen 3 hours and it's only been 20 minutes, or, silly things like that. Um, but those are little fibs, those are not
Yeah.
lies. In terms of lying, sometimes it might be worth it not to create a problem that would come from telling the truth.
Yeah. Eartha Kitt says, truth is a theory that is constantly being disproved. Only lies, it seems, go on forever. Any thoughts on that one?
I believe that there are some real truths and that they endure, and that lies are the ones that get exposed and should not go on forever. I see our big military industrial complex as one big lie, in terms of, this is the way that people are supposed to live, by creating these horrific machines to kill each other. But I do think that at some point that will fall and people will learn the truth, which is that we're put on this earth to love each other and take care of each other, not to bomb and napalm and white phosphorus and whatever else we can think of as ways to kill each other.
So agree. I wrote an essay called Can Art Stop War? And it emphasizes how Maria Gimbutas in 1973 started telling us, hey, we're more hardwired for cooperation than we are for violence. Most people think, well, we're hardwired to fight. And then, Rian Eisler, Charleston the Blade, developed it into the word partnership. So, ahoy, matey, is perception reality?
Perception is not necessarily reality because it's your perception, which might not be the reality. You could perceive, we talked about this thing of an enemy. You could perceive as somebody as your enemy, but in reality, they're really not your enemy because your perception was not very precise.
Yeah. Tell me one major element of your activism that stayed the same and one major element that's changed in the many years you've been a political activist.
A major element that has stayed the same is that I believe, or I have believed in, the power of organized people to make change. And that kind of organizing can come from many different ways, but that it needs that kind of mass organizing to make change. And ways that I have changed the way that I do or perceive things would be that I realize that in this day and age, you don't have to get people in the same physical space, that having big mass demonstrations might not be a good use of time and energy when you can do things in a more decentralized way, more dispersed, You don't necessarily need as many people as long as you can be creative and more precise in the way that you are doing your targeting.
Really well put. Moshe Feldenkrais works with healing and movement. He says it's literally possible to identify a weakness and incorporate it to become a strength rather than we're taught to overcome a weakness. Tell me a weakness you turned into a strength.
Hmm. Um, and if it's a personal or on a larger level, I think on the larger level, a weakness would be that um, these groups fight with each other all the time. That there's this idea that people on the right are organized because they are hierarchical and they are willing to take orders and just go ahead and do it. Whereas people on the left are all have so many different ideas and so many things that they're all, scattered and they won't take direction. And I think turning that weakness into a strength is the decentralization. And
Yeah.
especially these times when our government is attacking us, we're better off being lots and lots of different groups that are not taking direction from any particular person or organization, but doing things on a different scale, and that gives us the ability to withstand the kind of attacks that we're going through.
Yeah. That reminds me when Occupy Wall Street hit, it was like, they don't have one cause. It's like, duh, Occupy Wall Street. And they did have a variety, but it was like, come on. Um, fill in the blank. Anger can be a productive emotion when.
You turn it into action.
Yeah.
And I think also when you move from anger to having direction, and just the anger itself is not all that helpful um, if it doesn't morph into something that's more grounded and directed.
Medea, I know you wanted to shoot for 60. Can you go a little longer or you want to end in 5 minutes?
Let's go for, if you don't mind, 5 minutes would be great.
Perfect. How do you find peace of mind?
I find peace of mind by knowing that I have really pushed myself, not to the limit because that would be too much, but have been constantly pushing myself to do something that I think is useful and meaningful and gets other people inspired.
Beautiful. If you were walking down the street today and you met yourself as a 12-year-old, what would you say to your 12-year-old self?
I would say, "Oh, your pink sweater is so cute. Do you like pink? We have a group called Code Pink that you can join."
That is beautiful. What's a question? Oh, no, this one. What's the cultural shift you see developing today that inspires you?
I see among a lot of young people that they recognize that we are living in an empire and that empires come and go, and that it would actually be good for them if this empire evolved into something much more humble. And I see that cultural shift being one of recognizing the big picture, the interconnection of so many of these issues that we care about, and that a major structural change is not only underway, but it's going to be beneficial for the world.
Do you think you got that more from the way your parents raised you or on your own?
Oh, I definitely did not get that from my parents. They were Republicans, and they were very much into getting wealthier and having a bigger car and a bigger house, and that kind of idea that more money means more happiness and more prestige. And I think that was a falsehood that I did not fall into.
What's a question that remains unresolved for you?
Well, I look at the way this military industrial complex is just getting stronger and stronger, and now with AI and it becoming part of this um, security uh, big brother that knows everything that we're doing and is all seeing and all encompassing, how to break through all of that.
Yeah.
And this monster that is not just about weapons, but about so many other ways that the powerful and the concentration of wealth is making change difficult, is something that I fear, but I do think that it will be v- drastically changed in the future because I do not think that it's sustainable.
How has being an activist shaped your behavior?
It's kind of about everything that I do and I am. I um, feel that being an activist is my raison d'être. It's my core, it's my being. It what gives meaning to my life. It makes me happy. It defines the community of people that I want to be around, and I want to help grow that community. So I think for me, it's a major, major part of my life.
Medea, thank you so much. I have a couple more and we're out of here. Um, Thornton Wilder said in 1928, art is confession, art is the secret told. But art is not only the desire to tell one's secret, it's the desire to tell it and hide it at the same time. You've laid your cards on the table for an hour. I'm not insinuating you haven't already answered this. What's it really all about for you?
I think I grew up with a lot of privilege, and I always asked myself from early on, how come I was so lucky to be born in a place where I had a warm bed at night and a roof over my head and 3 meals a day and a nice school to go to, and that somebody in the other part of the world that was born the exact same day I was didn't have any of that. And that sense of privilege, but also a sense of fairness, it's just not fair, I think is the steam that keeps me moving, and that we should be living in a world that is much more fair, that young people, when they're growing up, have that sense of fairness, and it's drummed out of them over the years, and that we really have to get back to that sense that it is really, how do we recognize that we're not worthy of some particular privilege as long as other people are so in need?
Really? What gives you the most optimism?
I have the privilege of working with a lot of young people.
Yeah.
And just today, there was a high school group that came to join us in Congress. And they were so curious and so sweet and um, uh, so smart already. And one of them, a 17-year-old, told me about how she testified at her county against an ice facility that they were trying to build right next to her school. And I said, "Were you afraid?" She said, "My hands were shaking so much I had to put them on the podium." And she said, I was so afraid, but I did a good job, and in the end, we won, and they're not building that facility. And I thought, not only is that a great result for that particular issue, but what a great result for all of these young people that got involved and saw that their involvement could actually make a difference. So
Yeah.
that gives me tremendous hope.
It is so true. So many people in 40 years of interviewing, when I say, what gives you the most optimism? They say youth, young people. So the first question I asked is, what's the best thing for a human being? Wilhelm Reich said the best thing for a human being is another human being. In the last question I asked, what gives you the most optimism, is what they asked Groucho Marx at the end of his life. And he said, other people. So it's sure been fun spending this time with another person, especially because it was you, Medea. Thank you so much for your time and energy.
Thank you, Gerry. And let me say one last thing, because while I said that it's youth that gives me hope, I do also spend my days in Congress with a group of retired people. And they're the ones who have the time to come in every single day. And they are so wonderful. And we've created such a loving community. So it's not just the young people that give me
Yeah.
hope. It's the people, but also the older people who want to spend their retirement not doing some frivolous
Yeah.
kinds of things, but actually getting involved, being out on the street in Minneapolis, being in Congress with us, being and doing, and really saying, until my last breath, I'm going to work to make this world a better place for everybody who comes after me.
Yeah, there's a woman who walks the Venice boardwalk with a piece of cardboard and it says ICE, idiots committing evil. And I go, how do you have the courage to do this? Because she'd be. And then if you haven't search Raging Granny on YouTube and watch the women in New Mexico reword all these classic songs. And the one I highly recommend is Hit the Road Ice. And it is both the youth and the elders. And thank you so much, Medea. Even though I'm going to hit the end broadcast button, I hope this never ends and we can keep talking forever and ever. Thank you so much.
You are one unique interviewer, Gerry. Thank you so much. It's been really fun.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.